Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Rundown, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
That's right. My name is Mike Piwowarski, coming to you live from the East Coast. That's the coast with the most, from the co-host with the most here on the Rundown. 2A views, conservative news, and Craig, guess what day it is?
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
It's hump day.
Hump day!
It's hump day.
Hump day!
That's right, folks. Today is Hump Day. This is the day in which we attempt to begin the weekend, sometimes with success, sometimes not. But hey, as we like to say, the fun is all in the trying.
Yeah, we do. Hold on. Where's my just out of reach red Solo cup? I lift you up.
How dry I am, how dry I am. Nobody knows how dry I am.
Well, it's California. It's either dry or mudslides and stuff like that. So it's in between. Yeah.
Dry or mudslides. There you go.
No in between. Yeah, no in between. Yep.
How was your hump day going thus far, sir?
Not too shabby. We're towards the end of the week. I can officially say what day 3 of the hostage situation's coming to an end. So we're okay.
Nice, very nice, very happy for you, very happy for you indeed. So hey, let's go ahead and let's get ready to kick off the program. But before we do, why don't we go ahead, Mike, and give a quick shout out to our sponsors.
Yeah, let's say hi to our good friends at Hitman Industries. That's hitmanindustries.net. You got yourself an AR in the past 5 years, probably got one of their barrels and don't even know it. Now you can buy from them factory direct. Get on over to Hitman Industries. That's hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly bringing you the good fight from behind enemy lines. Now you can take part in California's future today. Be sure you check out the California 6th congressional race as well. If you want the best in tactical concealed holsters on the market, get on over to Hog Holsters. That's HAWG holsters.com, hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown. All one word, no spaces, all caps. Get yourself a nice little discount. And if you want some tactical gear, some field gear, some going outdoor gear, you can get everything but the gun over at uscombatgear.com.
That's right, folks. Our sponsors go out of their way to make sure that we can bring you to them. So do us a favor, do them a favor, visit them. All you got to do is follow the links in the description to this program, and it'll take you right to their websites. Check them out. I guarantee you will like what you see, and make sure you spend some money with them, by the way. And also tell them that it was the guys over at the Rundown that sent you.
That's us.
All right, let's go ahead and get into today's news. And this first story, I am quite sure, probably, well, if you've been following the media at all, if you've been following these stories at all, you know how the mainstream media is. This is not going to catch you by surprise at all. There is a story now over there at Breitbart where the former leader, the national leader for the Proud Boys, has basically said, his name is Enrique Tarrio, has said that the feds tried to coerce me into implicating Donald Trump. Now, this is not a new tactic. They have done this with everybody that they have arrested. The whole point behind all the stuff that they have done has always been to try and catch Donald Trump. And the problem is that in some cases, it's not even that they aren't even willing to turn on him. Like Michael Cohen turned on the president in a hot second. But the problem is they haven't been able to catch him in doing anything illegal. Here it says, last week, U.S. District Judge Timothy Kelly sentenced Tarrio to a record high 22 years in prison, despite not being in Washington, D.C. on January 6th. I don't know what instructions I would give anybody at that point. I'm not speaking. I have no function. So there was no communication, Tarrio said on the phone interview with the Washington Post. Tarrio revealed that federal prosecutors tried to coerce him into implicating Donald Trump during a phone interview in the D.C. jail. I was looking and seeking what the plea offer would look like, right? Tarrio told the Washington Post. They didn't want to give me a number. I need a number. to me, the most important thing is when I get home to my family. Instead, Tario said the prosecutors asked him what role then President Donald Trump played in getting the Proud Boys to attack the Capitol. He said that the prosecutors, accompanied by FBI agents in the Miami jail where Tario was being held at the time, showed him messages that he exchanged with a second person who in turn was connected to a third person who was connected to Trump. Tario said he told the investigators that he didn't know the third person, and he refused to name the people who prosecutors said allegedly were connected to Trump. So, I mean, Mike, clearly here, they're making stuff up. So I knew a dude who stood next to the dude who was around the dude who had the dude's text number, and that dude was connected to Donald Trump.
That's it. He saw him on the TV. That's
right.
It. You know, that's the connection. That's the connection.
He got the signal subliminally through the television. That's what happened.
Donald Trump gave it to him with the eye blinks. He said, communicating to me through Morse code with his eye blinks. Yeah, I like how he asks for the feds. The feds are like, we would like to offer you a deal. He's like, what's the number? Well, we'd like to find out what's the number. Well, you tell us what's the number. You want to know why? You want to know why he was very specific on asking what the number was, Craig?
Why?
Because he's already got a number. You know what his number is? 16 months. 16 months until the next president is sworn in on January 20th, 2025. That's the number he's got. Yeah, you could convict me for 1,000 years right now because it's 16 months. I'm out.
Outie.
Goodbye. Yeah.
Well, once again, going back to it, but it's clearly, I mean, this is what they did with Michael Flynn. And with Michael Flynn, It was even worse because they flat out, first of all, the first mistake he made was he should have had an attorney with him when they questioned him in the first place. But then secondly, it's like they go to him multiple times. They get him to make statements. And then he's like, oh, well, okay, well, maybe a statement wasn't true. Well, now you lied to a federal officer. So now you're going to do real jail time. Right?
Yeah.
And he probably admitted, okay, I probably made a misstatement. But I mean, in the end, what wound up happening was now they're finding out that, no, none of that's true. The whole point was they're trying to get him to say that Donald Trump did something illegal. And here's the thing I will tell you. Do I believe that as a business owner or a developer in New York that he may have cut some corners or done some stuff illegal? I don't know that he did, but it wouldn't surprise me if he said that he did. But I believe that you do business in New York at the level that he did often enough. He's not going to do some stupid stuff, getting caught up in some of this stuff. He knows enough to know not to get caught in stuff like this. Am I making any sense?
No, listen. If you're doing business in New York City, right? It's kind of like that the scene from Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield, where he's in the business class. And he says, you got it all wrong. First, you got to grease the palms of the guys over at code enforcement. Then you got to see the building inspector and make sure his wife is taken care of with a bottle of wine. Then you got to see the fire marshal. It's that kind of stuff, right? It's the little things that help the process run a little smoother. But guaranteed it, Craig, it was not Donald Trump, the one handing the bottle of wine or greasing the skids. That's what he's got his staff and his employees for. There's levels of protection between there. So everybody else is doing their job, and all he knows is his project is moving forward.
Well, exactly. Exactly. Anyway, what gets me, though, is once again, this is all about all these people who are being prosecuted, all these people that they're going after. It's all for one thing, and that's to get Donald Trump.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. It's just like a reality TV show we get to watch. You know, it's like we get to see snippets of it. You know, now we don't have the January 6th reality show going on, so now we got to catch it's like little teasers of get Donald Trump. You know.
Yeah, and I will go back to the one point that I had made to you. I don't know if I made it on air, but I'll make it off air. You notice that that for people who are like, well, who talk about equity, when it comes to sentencing and people in prison. You notice the one person of color who got the longest sentence, right?
Yep.
The one person of color who, by the way, wasn't even there, got the longest sentence from the Democrat administration.
Yeah, I think we said that yesterday. The black-white racist got the longest
Yes.
term.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, okay, we did talk about it. The black-white supremacist.
Yes, there you go. Yeah, the black-white supremacist got the longest term.
Yeah,
Yep,
there's
yep.
absolutely zero hypocrisy there.
No,
For those of you who are wondering, that does not equal hypocrisy.
Yeah, and it's just, what was it? It's like, okay, you got a year, you got 12 months, you got 14 months. Some people, I think one got like 6 years, and then boom, this guy gets what, 23 years? Something
23
ridiculous?
years. I think the next lowest was 17. The head of the Oath Keepers.
Yeah, well,
Which,
he
like
had
you
a- he had a
said,
black-
we know that they're not going to see that much time because the next Republican president is going to pardon them.
The guy that got 17 years, Greg, he had a black friend though, so that's why they gave him.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
See,
Well, he knew
proximity
Enrique
to
Tarrio.
blackness.
Exactly right. His proximity.
See, should have thrown that. Should have used some of that white privilege. That would have got it.
There you
That
go.
would have got him out.
Yep.
All right. And this brings us to the next argument that folks are now starting to bring up regarding the 14th Amendment. Basically, right now, you have people who are fighting to keep Donald Trump off the ballot. And in particular, in the state of Minnesota, and this is according to CNN Politics, Trump right now, they're saying, faces another. So this is one of several of the 14th Amendment candidacy challenges. And this time, once again, it's taking place in Minnesota. What they're trying to say is, because he was, quote unquote, involved in an insurrection, once again, this is a Civil War era law, they're saying that it should disqualify him. They're trying to disqualify him from being on the ballot in Minnesota. It says here, a liberal group, once again, they point out, a liberal group, filed lawsuit Tuesday to block former President Donald Trump from the 2024 presidential ballot in Minnesota, a second major lawsuit in 2 weeks that hopes to invoke the 14th Amendment's arcane insurrection ban. The cases are seen as legal long shots. Trump denies wrongdoing and has vowed to fight to remain on the presidential ballot. The new Minnesota lawsuit was filed in state court by Free Speech for People 1 week after another group initiated a similar challenge in Colorado. Now, Mike, what gets me is a group called Free Speech for People want to ban him from being able to run for president again because he exercised his right to free speech.
Yeah, this is not free speech for conservatives, Craig. This is free speech.
Oh, I think
For
conservatives aren't considered people. That's the
No,
problem.
they are not. They're not. They're not. This is not free speech for those they don't like. That's what this is. Incredible long shot. We know the reason for this was during the restoration period after the Civil War, that those that had been leaders, elected officials in the South, were not allowed to hold office again after that. And listen, this was in lieu of going to jail. This was the healing that the nation had to do afterwards. Rather than putting all the Confederate leaders in jail, they just said, go home, collect your pensions. You can never hold office again, not even in an HOA. So that was the deal. This has no legal basis to be applied now to Donald Trump. One, right? It's not an insurrection. Two, this was designed specifically for Civil War. And could there be another insurrection later that because this could apply to? Sure. Greg, show me Craig, if you could name all the people that have been convicted of insurrection, that would be great.
Well, but the other thing it's meant to do is to waste money. To date, as of I think like a few weeks ago, the last I heard, the Trump campaign had spent about $157 million in legal fees. And once again, all of this is based on the idea of trying to keep him from running for and winning winning the presidency again in 2024. That's their whole goal. and they're afraid. They're terribly afraid that they can't beat him at the ballot box, so they're going to try and beat him at the jury box.
Yeah, yeah. So, Craig, here's my prediction. One state out there, at least, is going to get this passed. One state out there is going to remove him from the ballot in their state, and they're going to do it a week from before the election, 2 weeks before the election, so it can't work its way through the courts. And then guess what you're going to see then? You're going to see what happens on a Capitol Hill in a state when you decide you're going to be a tyrant and a monarchy, and you're going to remove somebody from the ballot. You're going to see what they've been threatening happened at January 6th really happened at one of these states when they attempt to do this.
I would guess that if they did that, you could get an emergency injunction to go before the Supreme Court to have it changed.
Correct, but then
because by the way, keep in mind, in most of these states, in particular in states where this is happening, where they're trying to do this, they don't have election day. They have like election month. I mean, the ballots are being mailed out for weeks. So they've got to, in order to do this, they've got to do it before the ballots get printed.
True, but the majority of the election turnout is on election day still. I mean, you can definitely get a lot in the pre-election period,
right?
But that's it. And Craig, I'm worried. You say we get an emergency injunction. Well, then I fear what happens is like we had when Donald Trump and his team were bringing forward evidence of erection fraud, because we can't say the other words. That no judge is going to approve that because no judge wants to have his name on an order that caused bloodshed. Okay, so you still have to deal with that.
Yeah. Okay. I hear you. It once again, I just have a distinct feel. First of all, I think a lot of it's going to have to do with before ballots are printed, and that's really where it's going to matter is before ballots are actually printed.
I mean, even if the ballots are printed and his name's still on there, and they say, okay, he's not a viable candidate, what you're going to get is people that are not going to vote for him on there because they don't want to waste a ballot. So it still would throw it off. I think even just the mere statement of it, even if his name's on the ballot, because then you could claim that people specifically didn't vote for him because they didn't want to waste a vote because you told us his name was not valid.
Right. Well, all I know is that I just would find it very difficult that I use this term loosely, any rational judge would allow that to happen because I think you just made the point. I believe that if you wanted to see an insurrection, if you wanted to cause an insurrection, removing a candidate from a ballot is a sure enough thing that is going to cause, if not an insurrection, it's definitely going to cause a riot.
Yeah, and again, the Democrats don't care because they're going to sit back and say, look what Trump's people did.
Well, you and I know we're gonna be like, look at what they did.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, moving right along, you guys, we talked the other day about the New Mexico governor who basically came out and said, yeah, no, we're going to suspend the Second Amendment in our state in terms of your ability to be able to possess firearms outside of your home, right? So decided, nope, that is no longer going to exist. And then they specifically talked about certain counties there in that particular state. Now, the interesting thing about it, Mike, is that most Democrats actually came out and were like, no, that's not cool. No, we're not down with that. We are definitely for more restrictions, but you don't get to just suspend the Second Amendment just because you want to. That doesn't work. You don't get to do that. But, in many cases, those are reasonable Democrats, as if there really was such a thing. But then you've got Elizabeth Warren, who basically came out, and now here's what's funny about it. Notice her response when she's actually asked about, whether or not this is legal. Check it out real quick.
And they're doing everything they possibly can to reduce gun violence and to try to save the lives of our children, our neighbors,
Wait, start that
everyone.
one
I
again.
want to ask you about this. New Mexico's governor, Michelle Lujan Grisham, a Democrat, she's issued this temporary order that bans both open and concealed carry firearms at Albuquerque and in the surrounding county. Do you believe that that is the right move? Do you think it's even legal?
You know, I want to put it this way. I think that our mayors and our governors have the hardest job in the world right now when it comes to gun violence. Keep in mind, for example, in the District of Columbia a few years back, D.C. said, we just want to basically ban carrying guns. And good for D.C. They said it was going to bring down gun violence, and they were right. And then an extremist United States Supreme Court said, nope, we're not going to let you do it. And then Congress wouldn't act to try to give them some of the tools to help fight gun violence. And yet, it's those same governors and those same mayors who are then held responsible for the rise in violence. So I see this as they're caught in the switches, and they're doing everything they possibly can to reduce gun violence and to try to save the lives of our children, our neighbors, everyone.
I want to turn.
All right, so you noticed first thing was she asked if she thought it was legal, or what was her comment regarding people saying that it was illegal, including fellow Democrats. You notice she never answered the question.
Nope.
So that was
No,
number
she
one.
did
She
point
never
out,
answered the question.
Yeah. She did point out the extremist Supreme Court, right?
Right. That says, yeah, that you don't get to just make up standards by how you judge stuff. There's a constitution, and that's the standard. Yeah, they're not an extreme. They are extremely truthful about what their job is, extremely knowledgeable about what their job is. I guess that makes them extremists. But what's funny is then how she says, well, you know, they've got to now deal with gun violence, and they're blamed when gun violence goes up. Well, that's because you're defunding your police. That's because if you're not defunding them, you're asking them to do their jobs with both hands tied behind their back. Then at the same time, you are decriminalizing crime. So, I'm sorry. Yeah, it is your fault.
Yeah. And remember, we're talking New Mexico, border state. You're allowing illegals into your cities unchecked. So,
right. But none of that
sanctuary
matters.
state.
Anyway, it's a bait. The point is, it's a bait and switch. And that's the best that Democrats can come up with when it comes to defending the stupidity that is the governor of New Mexico.
Well, remember, Elizabeth Warren has a tie to what's going on there in New Mexico because of all of the history of her Native American brothers and sisters being forced out of that land by guns. So she has a distinct Native American tie to it. So, it's also interesting, Craig. I think it was yesterday afternoon or this morning. I forget when the story came out. The Attorney General there in New Mexico, Raul Torres. It's an elected position in the state there, and not an appointed position. He's an elected Democrat, and the governor there called on him to defend her as the state's chief legal officer and legal counsel, and he said, "No, we can't help you. You've broken the law. We can't do that."
He said he was like, "Look,
he says it's not constitutional."
I really hate to tell you this. No, I'm sorry. No, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
There's also a sheriff in the biggest county there who said, no, I'm not going to do it.
Not enforcing it. And then she criticized
by the way,
the police chief and the sheriff too.
Yeah.
She said, you don't get to decide what's legal or not. You just have to enforce the law. Oh, okay. Let's go ahead and put them in the ovens then, and just turn it on, and then don't worry about it because you're just following orders.
Right.
Yeah. Let's do that. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, here's the other thing though, is keep in mind that she is now officially, even though she has absolutely no indigenous people's blood, because they now want to be referred to as indigenous people. They have now vacated the term Native American, so she's now claiming it again.
Oh, okay, all right. I'm not up on the speeds, so we
It's a lot to keep up on. Let me just to be real with you. It's a lot to keep up on.
In the military, when we would go to a foreign country, we were directed. We called them IPs, indigenous personnel. or indigenous peoples. And then we got told we couldn't call them that. But now I guess it's okay back here to say it again. So that's what you're saying. I can call now their IPs back here. So got it. Okay.
Well, and it really doesn't matter if it's offensive because they still call Latinos and Latinas or Latin people. They still call them Latinx, which I think it was like 2% of Latinos wanted to be called that. I mean, every poll that's ever been out there, they're like, no, do not call me that.
Yeah. Latinx sounds like some sort of movie you'd see on Cinemax after midnight.
Wow, I think you're dating yourself, dude.
What? Little Red Shoe Diary?
Cinemax After Dark.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, moving right along. Also, from the file of, yeah, we knew that, CIA tried to cover up the lab leak. This is from the Washington Free Beacon. CIA whistleblower says agency worked to bury COVID lab leak theory. A whistleblower from the CIA testified to Congress that the agency conspired to undermine its own investigative team's assessment that the COVID-19 virus likely came from a lab leak in Wuhan, China. That's why we called it the Wuhan Kung Fu Bat Flu. Anyway. The unnamed source, a senior-level CIA officer, told House committee leaders that the CIA offered financial incentives in an effort to convince 6 analysts on its COVID discovery team who endorsed the lab leak theory to change their position. According to the whistleblower, at the end of its review, 6 of the 7 members of the team believed the intelligence and science were sufficient to make a low confidence assessment that COVID-19 originated from a laboratory in Wuhan, China. Representative Brad Westrup and Mike Turner, chairman of the Select Subcommittee on the Coronavirus Pandemic and Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, respectively, said in a letter to the agency. The lawmakers demanded the CIA hand over documents and communications regarding the COVID discovery team. Now, Mike, let us remember, this is within the same administration where they basically where that was pressuring social media companies to cancel the accounts of, delete the tweets of, throttle the accounts of individuals who dared say that it came from a lab in China. In particular, the Wuhan lab.
Yeah. It was Jon Stewart, right, on the Stephen Colbert show, right, who got up and, like we said, comedians are going to be the voice of the First Amendment coming up here in this generation, who got up there and said, doesn't it sound odd to anybody that the Wuhan coronavirus came from the same place where the Wuhan coronavirus laboratory is? Doesn't that sound funny or odd to anyone? You saw Colbert trying so desperately to get out of that segment, and Jon Stewart just tearing him apart.
Yes, and once again, and this is the degree of mental machinations, the number of mental machinations that one has to jump through to make the liberal perspective make sense. I mean, I will tell you, I'm listening to people right now who are like, how dare you say that President Biden is not up to the job, is too old, or how dare you say that Kamala Harris isn't liked? And I'm like, what world are you living in? What polls are you paying attention to? What videos are you watching of the two of them butchering the English language as they say the most utterly nonsensical things? At least with Joe Biden, we can look and we can say, okay, we already knew he was a liar. Now we know he's senile. But then you've got Kamala Harris, who, I'm sorry, is just not that bright. She's not. She's not. And the worst part about it is that people can handle people who aren't that bright. But when you have this smug superiority, like you are the smartest person in the room, and you're saying the dumbest things, then that's going to instantly lead people to not liking you. You can be smug. People like Donald Trump, even though he's smug, right? and you can say stupid things, right? But you don't get to do both at the same time.
Yeah. I don't think Trump is smug. I think that's just Trump. That's just
Trump is smug. Come on, man. He
yeah.
is. He is. People like that about him, but he is. People do.
He's good at it.
Because usually he's smug to the people we don't like.
Correct. As I said, he's good at it. Yeah.
I serious. Trump reminds me of that. Trump reminds me of that girlfriend. If you had one who was like mean to other people, but's good to us. So I'm like, well, look, that's your problem.
I love the smug face he makes. You know, like when he listens to you and wants to give you credit, he goes like this. He goes,
whatever. Forget whatever.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, gotta love Trump. Definitely gotta love Trump. Okay, moving right along. Now it's time for our parting shots, brought to you by Hog Holsters. Go to hogholsters.com and get your hog holster today. Make sure you use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces. Get your hog holster today. Speaking of the President of the United States, I've just made the decision. I guess people are really kind of getting tired of the act because it's Joe Biden as president is becoming less and less entertaining. So the word has officially gone out. Dear Jeff Dunham, please stop in D.C. and pick up your dummy. It ain't funny anymore.
Yeah. Then if that's true, then Camel is the toast on the stick, right?
On a stick.
On the stick.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's funny right there. All right. And then there's a new measure that they are implementing at the White House in order to keep the president from sniffing kids, because clearly that is hindering his poll numbers. The cone of shame.
Yep. He gets it. On the plus side, it's easier to feed his tapioca to him like that. You
You
drop it in
just,
there.
just put it around the rim.
Yep.
Anyway, and this last one I had to share because I finally realized, the president and Democrats go around talking about ultra MAGA or MAGA, mega MAGA or whatever they use. They go around talking about MAGA as if MAGA is a bad thing. Well, folks, look, if you want to know what MAGA is, here is what MAGA is. Ultra MAGA is always America first, voters over special interests, strong borders over bloodthirsty cartels, American workers over guest workers, domestic production over foreign production, national security over needless war, cops over criminals, education over indoctrination, American values over woke ideology, adoption over abortion, family over government, equality over equity, free speech over censorship, individuals over corporations, patriotism over globalism, the United States over the United Nations. I had that is the most concise breakdown of what it is to be mega MAGA or ultra MAGA. I don't know. What do you like better, man? Do you like mega MAGA better or do you like ultra MAGA better?
Jeez, I don't know. I'm gonna have to take a poll and see which one I like better. Find out.
Ultra mega MAGA.
Ultra mega
Mega ultra MAGA. Mum.
I like to say MAGA many times.
like to say
Ultra
MAGA?
mega
Mega.
mega.
Yeah. Anyway, yes, I hate to say this. I don't hate to say it. I'm MAGA. I believe in making America great again. And when I say making America great again, right now we are still the greatest nation on this earth, but we're not heading the right direction. And we want to start heading the right direction again.
Yeah. Absolutely right. We'll get there. 14, 15 months, we'll be there.
We will get there. There's an election coming. All right, Mike, before we head out, how about that quick shout out to our sponsors?
Yep. Hitman Industries, hitmanindustries.net. You can get rifle and pistol caliber barrels at any length you want for your next rifle or pistol AR build. Also now available Glock barrels, so check them out at hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly fighting the good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can take part in California's future today. And of course, if you want some tactical gear, go to the field gear, outdoor gear, whatever it might be, everything but the gun at uscombatgear.com.
All right, folks, once again, please take a moment, visit our sponsors, and let them know that the folks over at The Rundown sent you. And with that, we will call it a day. We appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you liking and sharing the program, and encourage your friends to do the same. We will be back tomorrow on Throat Punch Thursday. Y'all have a good time until then.